Hello. My name is Lani and you're listening to She's Just Crazy, a show talking all things women's health, lifestyle, and of course, having some fun along the way. I'm here as your big sister, your best friend, and to let you know that you're not alone in this crazy world. Well, hello everyone. Welcome to the first ever show of She's Just Crazy. I am so excited to be here today, and I'm also a little bit nervous, but I'm mostly just excited to be with you and to be in your eardrums for the next little while. So, who am I? Well, my name's Lani Holfter. I'm a second year politics and international relations student, as well as a media and comm student, if you couldn't tell already. Why did I start this show? Well, I guess it was just to give women and anyone identifying as a woman to just have a bit of fun and let you know that you're not alone in this crazy world. I think as women it's really hard to often find a community, especially if you're coming from a different area like I have. I think it's really hard to kind of find your tribe and find your community. So I think what I want the aim of this show to be is to have some fun, play some good jams, and to really build the connection between us UC community as women, and talk about women's issues that often don't get talked about. So in the coming weeks I'm going to talk a bit about women's health. So I'm going to talk about my journey with PMDD. I'm going to talk a bit more about that. I'm going to talk about how men can support women during their any health struggles, or even just that time of the month. So I'll be getting my wonderful partner along, and I'll be talking to him about how exactly men can support us. I'll be also talking a bit of film and television. I've been watching some really good shows lately, so I'll get my friend Sam along for that, which will be a good time. Then we're going to have a Politics in the Cafe episode, hopefully. So instead of Politics in the Pub, which I think is tended towards more blokes, I'm going to get Politics in the Cafe, which I thought was a fun little title, so keep your ears out for that. And we're just going to talk everything in between. So we might talk travel, we might talk pop culture, first year uni advice, which is next week's episode, so get excited for that. But yeah, it's just going to be a fun podcast talking anything and everything. I think for me, I just wanted us women to have a space to talk about whatever we wanted, and I think it's something that we don't often get the chance to be able to do. And again, like I said in my intro, I'm here to be your best friend and your big sister, and to guide you along this crazy journey. So I guess in my first episode, I just want to kind of let you know who I am, and get you to know what to expect for the next semester at least. So a little bit about who I am. So obviously I'm Lani. I grew up not from Canberra, believe it or not. So I can't, unfortunately, weigh in on the north or the south side debate, although I do live on the north side and I'm becoming a Canberran more and more as I live here. The other day I was annoyed to have to go to Tuggeranong, so maybe I am becoming a Canberran. But no, I think, who am I? So I am from I'm from a rural area known as the Snowy Mountains, which is about 2 hours from here. So if anyone knows Serpo or Perisher, that's near where I'm from. And I'm in a little town called Berridale, so it's in between Jindabyne and Cooma. So I grew up in Berridale for, how old am I now? 19 years of my life. I'm 21, but I moved here 2 years ago. So yeah, I grew up in Berridale, and I think living in Berridale, it can be a bit isolating. Obviously you have your mates and the people you go to school with and your little community through that, but I think growing up it can be hard to kind of talk about these women's health issues, and even talk about what it means to be a woman and some of the struggles that we go through. So I think that was a big driving factor is in creating this podcast, was again having that platform for women to go, hey, maybe I'm not alone in this. And I think, again, I'll talk about it a bit more in coming episodes, but I think because I had the health struggles I have, and I recently was diagnosed with those, I felt really alone and I felt really kind of isolated. And it's always been a mission of mine, even growing up, is to bring community together. And a really big thing in rural areas is community. And I think as young people and as young women, we don't often get listened to. So I think it's about time we do. So that's a little bit of the boring side of things for today's episode, and a little bit about my kind of motivation and my journey. And I definitely hope you stick along so we can keep on chatting together and keep on talking a little bit about my journey. But every week I want to do a fun little segment I'm calling my product recommendation of the week, or my current obsession of the week. So my product recommendation of this week, it's not really a product as such, but it's a podcast recommendation. So similar to kind of my show, and kind of, I guess, one of the inspirations behind my show is an awesome podcast by two amazing women, Sal and Al. And I'm sure you know who I'm talking about by now, but it is Two Broke Chicks. And this is a really awesome and fun podcast that's been going for about 3 years now, I want to say. So essentially this podcast, they talk about financial stuff, but they also talk about pop culture. They talk about pop culture. They talk about things like financial health, women's health, relationships. And it's just a really, really fun show. And I recommend everyone should go listen to it, because it's what I listen to like every week. It's like my guilty pleasure, and not many people talk about it. So I know it's not quite a product recommendation, but it's definitely something I would recommend. So that's my recommendation of the week. But most importantly, for this show, I wanted to do a bit of a Q&A. So a bit more of a fun get to know me, kind of see if you'll vibe with me, kind of thing. So I'm gonna ask Chat GPT to ask me some questions. Now, I know Chat GPT is a bit controversial at the moment, but I've really been getting into it lately, and exploring it a bit more. I think it's something that definitely coming from a rural background, we weren't really taught how to use. We weren't really told about it, especially the last few years in high school when it was getting more popular. So it's something I've been getting into lately and kind of exploring. While there's definitely some bad elements in it, I've definitely been exploring the good elements of it. So I decided to let it kind of ask me some random questions. So the first one it asked me is, this is a bit deep, but hopefully we get some more fun ones. I just said, ask me a random question about myself. And its prompt was, what's a small, seemingly insignificant moment from your life that you still think about often? I think that I really had to reflect on that, because obviously everyone has their big things that kind of shape them and who they are and stuff that they still will think about whenever. So I think a small thing was really tricky for me to kind of think of. And I think a small thing that I think about often, I think from my life, is probably moving to Canberra. And probably my first kind of night I had to cook by myself, because obviously I grew up in a really loving family. I was really fortunate to have that. And my sister's a great cook. She loves cooking, so I was very used to her food. So having to kind of fend for myself for the first night was tricky. Obviously I knew how to cook your basics like spag bowl and 2-minute noodles and stuff like that. But really having to grocery shop, that was a real thing where I was like, I don't know what to get. Like, I had all this kind of free range of choice and I could choose all these kind of products. And I think that was really kind of tricky for me, was what do I cook and what do I buy that I'm still keeping healthy and keeping myself fed. So I think that's probably my small insignificant moment from my life that I still think about often. And And I think it's a really important one to kind of think about. And it's important that we're not just thinking about these big life-changing moments and these big like memory moments, but it's also important that we sit back and we reflect on the smaller moments, such as going grocery shopping by yourself for the first time. And that's what I really liked about that question. So I've asked it another one. It says, if your life had a soundtrack, what song would be playing during your happiest moments so far? But I think it would definitely be either Ordinary or Green Light. So Ordinary by Alex Warren or Green Light by Lorde. I'm probably going to do Ordinary. It's a song by Alex Warren. It's really, really popular with TikTok at the moment. But I think Alex Warren is just an incredibly awesome singer, an incredible person. I was lucky enough to go to his concert in Melbourne a couple of weeks ago, which was just one of the most insane concerts I've ever been to. I did cry, which those who know me will say they're not surprised. But I was very lucky to go with my partner. And this is a song that just means so much to both of us. And it is a song that kind of represents our love for each other. And I'm very, lucky to have him in my life. So this is probably a soundtrack to my life. And But let's get back to some questions that are posed to me from the one and only Chat GPT. So I've got it to ask me a bit of a fun one. So I really had to think about this in the song break. But it is, if you could swap lives with any fictional character for a day, who would it be and what would you do? Okay, so one thing about me is I'm a massive, massive bookworm. So I read a lot of books, and I read probably about 50 in the last couple of years. Usually I can read about 16 a year, but because of uni and work, I've been a little bit of a slacker, unfortunately. And we'll definitely talk more in a later episodes about my favourite books. But I really had to scroll through all the books I've been reading recently. And I think one character I would swap lives with would be Phryne Fisher. And that might be a controversial one because people would be saying, well, why would you want to swap with Phryne Fisher? She deals with mysteries and murder all day. And while that is true, I think the mystery element, I love a good mystery. So I think I've always thought I'd be a pretty good detective. Maybe that's something to go into if the radio gig doesn't work out. But I think I'd be a really good detective. So I think that's why I'd want to swap with her. I think she's a really outgoing, really strong woman as well. And I think that's why a lot of us can relate to her. And a lot of us want to be her because she is such an awesome character, especially in the day and age where it was written, which was the 1920s, I think, where obviously women didn't have a lot of voice or say in society. I think she really shows that women do have a lot of say in society and do have power. And I think that's a good representation of kind of what I want this kind of talk show to be as well, like showing people that we do have power, and if women stick together, we definitely do have a voice. So on to the next one. It said a fun and quirky one. Oh, here we go. If animals could talk, which one do you think would have the most interesting gossip and why? Oh, that's a good one. And I haven't actually seen these questions because I'm literally just doing them as we're chatting. But if animals could talk, I feel like cats. I don't know. There's nothing against cats. And while I didn't have cats growing up, I definitely do enjoy cats. I am a dog person. I will say that now. So sorry to all the cat people. But I do definitely still like cats. But I think cats would have the most interesting gossip. I feel like they just sit there and they see everything and they hear everything. And then obviously some of them go on their little walks and their little adventures. So that's why I think they'd have the most interesting gossip. And I think if only they could talk, I feel like they wouldn't tell us the gossip. They'd just like tell other cats. I feel like they definitely wouldn't tell the humans the gossip because they'd just be like, no, you don't get the gossip, which would be really sad because I wouldn't know what's going on. Next question. If you had to enter a talent show tomorrow with no time to prepare, what ridiculous or weird talent would you perform? Oh, I have actually been asked to do this before, but I didn't enter the talent show because I wasn't prepared, and I'm all about preparing, which if you could only see my show notes for today's episode, you'd understand. But I think my weird talent, which not a lot of people know about me, is I can rap the whole of Ice Ice Baby. You know that song that's like, Ice Ice Baby, too cold, from like the 90s? Yeah, that one. I can rap that whole song. Even the little bit, so it's like, yeah, I can rap that whole song, and that is kind of my secret talent that no one knows. So, back to our questions from Chat GPT. So I've got 2 here, and I've gone the fun route again. So this one is, if you could turn an everyday object into a loyal sidekick, what would it be and what powers would it have? So, I had to think about this one, and I think my everyday object would be a mascara. And I know that sounds really basic of me, but my go-to makeup item is just mascara. I absolutely love it, and it's something that just makes me feel complete. Like, I literally put mascara on before coming into the studio this morning. I didn't put any other makeup on. I literally just put mascara. And it's something that if I'm just in a bad mood, or I have to go out of the house and it's like a rainy day and it's grey and a typical Canberra weather, mascara just makes me feel a bit like a girl boss, you know, like just put together. What powers would it have? Ooh, I think it would just be confidence and the ability to like give other people confidence, because that's what it does for me. Next question is along the same lines, but it's, you wake up with a superpower, but it only works when you're wearing socks with food on them. What's your power, and what's your go-to food sock design? This is probably the craziest question I've ever been asked by anything. So let's get started. My superpower, I often thought about this, and it's between 2. It's either being able to fly or invisible. And I feel like I'd only want to be invisible if I could turn it off, you know, like if I had to be invisible for long periods of time, say like if I had to be invisible for a whole hour before it wore off, then I feel like in some incidences that would be good, but I feel like in others it would be bad. So I'm going to say invisible, but only if I could turn it off and on whenever I wanted to. And my go-to food sock design, another thing about me is I love a good food sock design. I absolutely love a good food sock design. So for Christmas, I got sushi socks, and they literally have like pieces of sushi on them, and they're the best thing ever. I wear them all the time. So maybe sushi, but my go-to food sock, I love a good fairy bread. I'm just thinking, I've seen fairy bread socks, and every time I'm like, I need them in my life, you know? They're just like a necessary purchase. So I would say fairy bread would be my go-to design. Now I'm going to get it to ask me a serious one now. Let's see what it says. Thoughtful questions. Oh, this is a good one. When do you feel most like your true self? And I think this is a question that we should really reflect on. And this is one that I encourage you guys to reflect on as you're driving home or going about your morning or whatever it is you may be doing when you're listening to this. But I really encourage everyone to kind of reflect on, when do I feel most like my true self? Because it's really important that this question kind of puts us in touch with ourselves. And it's made me definitely this morning stop and have a think about, when do I feel like most like my true self? I don't know. I think when I feel most like my true self would probably be when I'm just at home, I'm chilling, I'm in my pajamas, I've got nowhere to be, I've got nothing to do, and I'm just able to sit with a good book or sit with my friends, sit with my housemates, sit with my partner, and just have a fun discussion. Just talk about how our day's been, talk about what the weather's doing, like talk about anything like that. I think being with my people is probably when I feel like my most true self. That or just being inside at night with my pajamas on and with a good book and a cup of tea. So that's my answer to that. But the next one is, what's a decision you made in the past that completely changed the direction of your life? I think is a really tricky one again, because I've been fortunate enough to have many great decisions in my life that have really reflected my values and kind of said where I wanted to be in life. But I think probably one of them would be moving to Canberra. I think that's something I've wanted to do since I was probably mostly in year 7. I kind of decided very early on what I wanted to do and what I wanted to be in life. That's definitely changing now that I go through my degree, and kind of now as I'm in my second year of my degree, I've definitely changed the original kind of perspective of what I wanted to do. But I think definitely moving to Canberra has helped me with that. Moving to Canberra has kind of given me some of my best friends. It's given me my partner. It's given me a kind of a purpose in life, and kind of made me decide what I wanted to do. So I think I'd definitely say moving to Canberra. So for the last little bit, I thought I'd ask myself some quick, fun fire round questions. So I've written a few, and then we'll get Chat GPT to do a little more. So, pineapple on pizza, yes or no? Yes. Dogs or cats? Dogs, as I've mentioned. Lip gloss or lipstick? Lip gloss. Favorite book? Probably The Great Gatsby at the moment. Favorite movie? Ooh, I have lots, but probably Star Wars. Favorite series? Ooh. Favorite series of TV would be New Girl. Favorite book series? Oh, I have so many. I don't know. I'll come back to you on that one. What's your go-to dance move when no one's watching? Oh, it would just be like the shoulder bop, when you're just like at a club, for example, and you're just like doing the little shoulder bop in the hip. If you had to live in a movie universe for a week, which one would you pick? Oh, probably Star Wars. What's the weirdest food combo you secretly love? I'm not a big food combo girl, so I would say none. If you could instantly master one random skill, what would it be? Ooh, I know this is meant to be quick. Top of my head, juggling. I don't know why that one was the first to come to my head, but there you go, juggling. Oh no, actually it'd probably be speaking another language. That would probably be my one. And there you have it. That was 45 minutes. Can you believe it? It's gone so quick, and that was today's show. Which thank you all so much for being here with me as I start this journey and I start this show. I really hope you enjoyed today's episode. Bit of a Q&A to kind of get to know me. So yeah, thanks again everyone for tuning in today and listening to the first episode of She's Just Crazy. Next fortnight we will be back and we were talking first year uni advice. So please tune in for that. And again, thank you so much for being here and listening to me chatting your earbuds for a little bit. Enjoy the rest of your week. Bye.